Hello everyone, welcome to our literacy lesson. This is the first session of our Teaching Live blog challenge for lessons, and we'll have another couple next week, including some sessions around the text of Brightstorm by Vashti Hardy, which is obviously a big another model text that we're using, as well as PyCorbits. So today's session targets. Really, today's session is really some time for you to start planning your Skyship adventure and mulling over any initial ideas that you have of where your story could be going. It's going to be quite a creative lesson, creative in terms of you coming up with all of your ideas so that we know where we're going with our stories. You're also going to be given some time to design your own Skyship, remembering that you need to give it a name and you need to think of the different parts of the Skyship and any design elements that you may mention throughout your story, and I've got some examples of that. And then you're going to develop your own fantasy world, creating a fantasy map. Okay, so your first task is you need to create a picture of your Skyship for your Skyship adventure. So you need to choose a name. So obviously within Brightstorm we had the Violetta and the Victorious, which were the two ships heading to South Polaris in chapter 1 and 2. And you need to come up with a name for your Skyship adventure. Then I've just posed some questions for you to consider. So this picture obviously here is one that was created by 8-year-old Arlo that was been shared with us, and here's some dragons attacking our Skyship. So you need to first of all create the picture, and I've got some to help you. And then what you need to consider is different things, such as what will the deck be like? What will the balloon be made from? So come up with an original idea. So Pie's suggestion was that the balloon could be made of a dragon skin or hide, so it'd be really strong balloon for the Skyship. But I don't want you to use that one, but try and come up with something really original. What's the colour of the rope potentially? What's the galley like? I've got a website link that can help you thinking of the different parts of a Skyship, and I've also got lots of images to help you try and design your own. Don't forget that when you're describing the different parts of the Skyship, we need to be using those expanded noun phrases that we spoke a lot about last week. I'd like you to give that a go. Okay, so here we have an example of a Skyship, okay? And I love this picture. I think it's really detailed, and it talks about, this is actually from a novel, and I'm going to direct you to the webpage, and it's called the Gale Rider. So this ship is called the Gale Rider, and on it it's got labelled all the different parts. We've got the captain's cabin, the helm, the infirmary, Quint's cabin. So Quint is one of the characters of the book. It's the Edge Chronicles. We've got the galley, the food store, the crew's quarters. So all of those ones, I know they're a bit blurry, but we've got the harpoon at the front. But they're all the different design elements of this Skyship. And the reason it's important that we know about these parts is because it might help us mention them within our stories where the children or your characters may be at different stages. This is a link, the Edge Chronicles fandom.com, and on it it's got a list of all the different Skyship parts and a little bit of a description about them. So I'll put that link up there, so if you want to be thinking about like labelling your Skyship parts, you can use that to help you. This lesson's very much about design, so you get the chance to show your creative side. Okay, so here are some more examples of different Skyships. So what you can do is, if there's a Skyship that you like, you can pause it on that image, and then you've got that to help you draw it. Or you could take elements from each one, because really we want your own design. Okay, then what we've got is these are some activities off of Vashti Hardy's website. So Vashti Hardy is obviously the author of Brightstorm and the book we are going to be reading. And these are pieces of work that children have done, and they have described their boat. So this one's called the Aurora, and we've got the Jane Grace, and two more Auroras. But what I really like is stepped on the russet wooden deck. Okay, so it's talking about the deck, what it's like. It's then named each of the chambers. So we've got the kitchen, the dining room, Arthur and Maudie's room. And then in this one, have a look at that design. Got the galley, the weapons room, the bedroom, the washroom, the freezer room, the bathroom, the engine room. And here again, the galley, the dining room, engine room, etc. So these are just some that I thought could help you with your design. So that is your first activity. You need to be designing and coming up with and creating your skyship. And it's really important that you have your name and all the individual parts so that when you write your story, you can really talk about where the different events are happening across the skyship. So we've got lots of different examples, and you can pause on the one that you want to mimic. Okay, so here's some information about Vashti Hardy. This is the part we're going to focus in on. So it says, one of my favourite things is from an interview with Vashti. One of my favourite things about reading children's books is when you find a map right at the beginning showing the landscape of the story. I thought it would be a great idea for the children to design and draw their own map showing the journey of the skyship and where it lands. This is the second part of your activity today. What we want you to do is to create a really in-depth map of your fantasy world. So she suggests looking at this author, so Kieran Larwood. He's the author of a book series called Podkin One Ear. And actually, I've watched this video and it was really incredible. He shows you on this website here, and I've put the link up on the assignment page, and he shows you in a video about how to create maps, and they're fantastic. So what we want you to do is we want you to start thinking about your fantasy world, where your skyship may be going, where it's heading towards. So for example, this is the map of the Great Wide. So this is the map from Brightstorm. So we've obviously got the first continent here, the second continent here, and then down here we've got the third continent. The third continent is obviously where sadly the children think their dad is lost. Got Longtown here, which is written as Longtown, but it's Longtown. But it's also got different parts of the landscape. It's noted on there different things such as sand dunes, northern volcanic islands, different marshes. We've got the sea, but particularly like waves, everlasting forest. So it's a map for you to create about your story setting, really. So where their adventure is going to take place. They called the world the Great Wide. So you could be thinking about what you want to call your world, and then you could have different countries. They've got the first continent, second continent, and third continent. So you could think about what yours could be called, and you need to be creating your map. Do use this resource. It's a really good resource. I was watching it earlier and using that to create your map of your world to help start mapping out your character's journey. So that's your second activity, to create your map. And this is how you do it. So step 1, you need to draw the outline of your map showing where the skyship will travel during its journey and where it lands. Next step, fill in the landmarks. So you need to pop in the trees, rivers, boulders, mountains, volcanoes, cities, seas and swamp, if of the ones that are applicable. Step 3, make up names for the different areas of your map. Step 4, these are optional, but they would be nice. You could stain your map to make it look old by using a used and cool tea bag, which will turn the paper Brown, you don't need to get it that wet for it to change colour, so it can be a pretty dry tea bag. When it's dry, cut or rip the edges of the paper to make it look old and worn. It would just be a really lovely touch to have, and we could also send those onto our blog challenge alongside the pictures of our sky ships, which obviously they're setting up a Padlet for that. And it'd be great if we could get some more work shared with them. Other things you might like to consider in this planning stage is thinking about your characters. So they've said you want at least 2 contrasting characters, and they could maybe have a creature companion. And also I read this, and these were different types of members of a skyship crew. So it might be that you think about the captain in particular, or maybe the first mate of the crew, or anybody else that you think might be important there, and you could create names for them if they need to be if you want them to be in your story. Notice the word contrasting characters, so they need to be very different. Okay, so you have 2 characters and you need to make sure that they're very different characters. So contrasting means the opposite. Okay, so 3 activities to complete. First of all, general activity is just to start planning. So this can be a brainstorm and mulling over initial story ideas, thinking of 2 or 3 contrasting characters. Are they going to take a pet with them or a creature companion like Eudora Vane's Stout in Brightstorm? So this is actually a Stout, which is what Eudora Vane has around her neck in chapters. No, it's not Eudora Vane. It's actually, I've just realised it's Madame Gainsford, but that's what she has around her neck, a little Stout. So it could be that you have a creature companion. Next, you need to name and design a sky ship with its different areas and be specific. Label it with expanded noun phrases. Okay, so I'm looking for an image such as that. And lastly, I would like you to create a map to develop your fantasy world following the instructions on the link that I give you. So hopefully you'll come up with that. So today, really, although you've got different activities to complete, it's all about starting to set out your story so that when we come to write it, it'll be much easier. Looking forward to seeing all of your amazing artwork and storyboards and different ideas.